Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Will's Review. I'm your host, Will D. And today, we're going to start off a little bit different. I know I'm mixing it up for you guys. We're just trying a couple different things out. Today's episode is going to be a little special. We're going to do a lot more of the movie talk. Last week, we didn't get to everything we needed to get to because we were having too much fun with Joy. But I was waiting for that. I always got some sound effect over there. So today we're going to start off with a little bit of news. There's a bunch of things that have been happening. Some good, some bad, and some absolutely hilarious. I'm going to definitely end with the hilarious today. But first off, there's a lot to talk about locally. One, the FDNY has been facing a lawsuit because supposedly they have been trying to hush EMT workers trying to talk about the unsafe working conditions they had to face and have been facing since the start of COVID, and especially during the peak of COVID in New York. Working in a hospital myself, I can tell you a lot of the times EMT workers are dealing with not just the sick, the old, they're dealing with crazies, and legitimately people with mental health issues, people who are violent, people who, aren't necessarily in full control of themselves and their actions. So not just the basic exposure of disease are these guys being left with, but at the same time, one basic thing that these guys were facing were people who are infected and didn't care and would, spit at them, bite them, scratch them. But even on a less, like dire situation, one thing that was big was that hospitals were low on supply and stuff. One thing would be legitimately wipes, alcohol wipes to wipe down different things. And EMT workers usually after each and every patient would be getting and receiving these alcohol wipes from hospitals usually. But with hospitals having such a low supply, they couldn't always find them with ease. And hopefully, I wish they were able to find them at all. I can't say that every time they did, to be honest with you. So, after they have a sick patient with Lord knows who what, they have to clean their equipment. And who knows how readily available that was. So FDNY was trying to keep this on the low instead of allowing the guys to speak up. And, this way, when we're, going to be going through reform and we're going to be thinking about the next time there's going to be a pandemic, this could be issues that are broached and that can be fixed. But, that's just something that's in the news. So something for people to pay attention to, and especially to the EMT workers. If you faced any unsafe conditions, speak up, speak out. This is how I prevent something going wrong in the future. Okay. Also here locally, and a little bit of sad news, especially for someone like me who's always relying on this place. The Times Square McDonald's is closed down. So that's official tissue. Not there. The big one right next to the movie theater. Yeah, no tourism, no movies, no customers. Broadway shut down, no customers. There is not like there's no McDonald's nearby. I mean, granted the Burger King's closer to there, but there's a McDonald's on 50, I think it's 50 or 46th Street. 46th Street, in the heart of Times Square, like next to those giant seats that everybody always sits by. There's a McDonald's over there. You can go a couple blocks down. There's another McDonald's on by like 44th and 8th Avenue. And all, it's not like you're not gonna find McDonald's nearby, but that was a big McDonald's. It was very well known. It was like a staple to the area. It had the big marquee, like if it was a Broadway play. Had 2 floors, bunch of seats. You can cut through 42nd Street through there. It was definitely a memorable marker. I know for me, that was my go-to spot, waiting for friends and such for a long time. When they had the meet plans in Times Square, you just go to that McDonald's, you cool out, you watch some music videos on the wall or on the TV screens. It's a cool spot. So that's a loss for the city. That's a big city landmark gone, as far as I'm concerned. It's not just a McDonald's; it was the Times Square McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So see, even Charles in the back is like, even I know about that. I don't even go to McDonald's and I know about that. It's just one of those things. You go to 40 Deuce, you go to that McDonald's. It's just a fact. You go to the other ones if you work next to there and you just don't want to walk all the way to 40 Deuce. That's how that worked. So yeah, that's sad. But in a little bit of brighter news, Cuomo wants to legalize weed by 2021. So if you are a pothead, this is good news, because now the government, especially I think after this, realizing that alcohol was was pretty effective in keeping the masses from going wild. They wanted to legalize weed next. So yay for potheads everywhere. I know this is something I should be saying while Calvin's around, because I'm sure he'd be getting real hype. But yeah, so that's something that's going to be pushed, something that he was talking about doing for a while, and people want it done. I mean, I was just passing by, about to go on a walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, and there were people sitting a block away from City Hall with signs talking about legalized weed. Meanwhile, if I'm not mistaken, the protest that was supposed to be happening that day was about defunding the police. So, yeah, they forgot why they were there. Maybe it was the marijuana, or maybe they're just so impassioned that anytime they see people with signs, they want to make sure that you realize legalize weed. I don't know. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just very impassioned potsheads, but that was definitely not the point of that protest that day.
So that means the resellers in the corners get a 501k or something?
I mean, here's the thing too. I don't know what this means for corner boys. Real talk though, I don't know what this means. Does it mean that they have to change product, right? Like now they're gonna be all selling 8 balls and such? Who knows? Maybe now, because they have experience, they can get sales jobs at the dispensaries. Maybe they just become delivery guys for Uber when they start dispensing the weed to places, right? I mean, yeah, Uber eats your weed, and Tyrone will be bringing it to you still, and maybe with a burger. Like that's just what we're gonna be doing now. All right, that way they give you your weed and your munchies together in a package deal. I might just have to patent that and make that my business. That actually sounds really good. Hey, mine. Right, mine. All the corner boys, I'm running this. You will be my distros. That's how this works. But yeah, so that's something that's coming to New York State, not just the city, but the state soon. And last but not least, locally, people are complaining and begging and pleading with the government to keep their plus 600, right? As of the end of July, this extra 600 with your unemployment should be done. The city, state, and federal levels are all talking about possibly keeping some sort of bonus, but just not it being a full 600. And so people are, hoping that they continue to receive extra free money. I, however, do not agree with this. I still do not understand how essential workers aren't receiving anything extra. Now, I'm not saying that people who are at home and not working shouldn't be provided for. No, I believe that especially if you were a working employee before this, you should be receiving your max pay. Normally, unemployment is a percentage of what you were making. You should have been receiving your max pay, what you would have been making if you were working. And anyone else who was unemployment, wasn't working, whatever the case may be, would receive basic unemployment. Whatever subsidies you were receiving, you would receive, and that's that. But the people, and I'm not just talking nurses and doctors. I work with nurses and doctors, and they don't deserve anything more than the rest of us, believe me. The people who are out there, the people who are still going and serving you food at the Popeyes, the people who were still running the drugstores, the people who just had to work during the whole process, not just since phase 2 started, since phase 1 or whatever, when this was at its worst, when everyone was scared, when people were dying at a crazy rate, anybody outside on the front line, keeping society functioning even at its bare minimum, the essential workers, right? That's a shout out to you too, barbers who are doing it from your house just to make sure people still look good instead of like wolves. All right, anybody who was working in this time should be receiving something. Granted, it may not be the 600 that everybody else has been getting, but where's our extra 100? Where's our extra 200? Where's our gift for being there for everybody else? I don't need no stupid signs. I don't need an applause at 6 p.m. every goddamn day. I need some money. I need some compensation. That's what we need. I'm sorry, folks, but if I want my 600, I can't do that. You were doing it without that extra 600. But all these other people who are risking their lives out there, literally risking their lives by going outside, right? Not choosing to go outside because they don't want to listen. Right, all these people now coming outside talking about, oh, these masks, I can't breathe, this, that, and that. We've been doing it since the whole thing started. Where's our compensation? That's all I'm saying. So screw these extra $600 for everybody else. As far as I'm concerned, they don't need it. No, you don't. You don't. You're doing it without it. You don't need it. There's no reason why anybody right now sitting on their butt at home watching TV and doing what they want to do, whatever the case may be, has more in a bank account than someone who's been breaking their back every day for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. No reason. Makes no sense. Logically, makes no sense. And I can't hate on the people who are just doing what they were told to do. It's not them. It's not their fault. They benefiting. They reaping. It makes a lot of sense. But before we have any discussion about how much longer they're receiving extra, how are we compensating everybody who was out there putting themselves at risk? That needs to be the discussion. Things that are priorities right now. Black Lives Matter and essential workers. Everything else irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. In that order. Police reform. Compensating essential workers. That should be the priorities for the state right now.
I still don't understand. If you were making $300 a week, you lost your job, now you're making like $900 a week, but you still didn't have enough. You didn't have enough when you started, when you were working.
That's what I'm saying.
So you should just get that.
If you were able to survive off of $450 a week, why do you need $1,000 now?
Yeah, exactly what you were gonna make if you wasn't working.
Only place that really wants everybody to keep getting this extra money right now is Amazon. That's it, because everybody's on Amazon now. They got some extra money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean that's really been irking me. People really talking about this and fighting for this extra $600 to continue. They held back rent. You've been getting extra money. The math adds up. So if you don't got the money, what were you doing? They were literally giving you an extra $600 to hold you down on your bills. That's what that was for. That was your rent. That was your car note. That was your health insurance. That was everything. And then your regular unemployment was so that way you can eat. And somehow before this extra money, you were doing all that. So what's good? What's really good? So why is that person, that EMT worker who was working in unsafe conditions, not receiving extra compensation? Right? Actually having to go out there. The person who, when you can't breathe, has to come save you and take you and risk infection from you. Why are they not being compensated? That's all I'm saying. Now, right? Now, one thing that's also been going down on the low from a lot of people is that there have been a lot of sexual misconduct cases brought about, especially in celebrity world. One of them was Hyde from That 70s Show, and it was not the first time, and it probably won't be the last time. Is a case brought up now from something that happened way back when, around the time he was first accused of something anyway. But where this is really affecting, and we're seeing it more and more, is actually in the world of wrestling. So a person of note who recently has been under a lot of scrutiny for this sort of thing has been the Velveteen Dream, right? A fan favorite, one of the few black wrestlers really put out there, publicized, leading an entire wrestling brand. And now he's been caught under the web of these sexual misconduct cases. Several accusations have been brought up against him. And WWE has turned their back on him. They were literally about to give him a title, and this sort of stuff was being brought up. So they decided to keep Adam Cole as champ. They were waiting for stuff to really come to solidify. So they were about to start a new storyline with him as a tag team wrestler, and this kind of hit heavy. So now they've kind of taken him off of TV. But he's not the only one. There's several other wrestlers, NXT and WWE affiliated, and there are others in smaller divisional brands where this is becoming more and more of a thing. This isn't the first time that wrestlers in bunches have been accused of sexual misconduct across the nation. It probably won't be the last, unfortunately. But here's the thing. In the last few years where this has happened, we've seen several names of note really brought up about this. I think the last one who really made the most waves was Enzo Amore, right? And each and every time these guys were acquitted, it was proven that these were false charges and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that anyone who made a claim was lying personally. I don't know. The courts ruled how they ruled. Cases were dropped for whatever reason. I'm not getting into all the semantics. But you have WWE, and specifically WWE, with these guys, right? So obviously they're a big brand. They travel around, these guys, whatever. So I don't know what your crew is doing where they even get into these situations, right? But if each and every one of these wrestlers, like Rick Swann, are accused of these things, and then it's proven that they're not guilty, but you've washed your hands clean of them, you've dropped them, I feel you're only hurting yourself as a brand. Maybe you should wait to see what the final thing is. You're going to be messing with people's lives, their monies, and everything, and you try and wipe your hands clean of it. Rick Swann ended up going to Impact and becoming one of their top tier wrestlers, right? And granted, it's Impact, then you can be like, well, that's just Impact. But he was also a face of your company. That's why when going to Impact, they made him a face of their company, right? Enzo Amore, you guys were actually about to try and approach him to come back to 205, and he spat in your face because you did to him. My man made a big scene out in the middle of Times Square, and everybody showed up to show love. You get what I'm saying? Someone like Velveteen, who, again, Velveteen is one of the people like Johnny Gargano who really made NXT, right? He's one of those people that people were like, I want to watch him more than I want to watch your main roster SmackDown and Raw guys. And you just wash your hands clean of him. But we don't know what the situation is. Too many times do we see a lot of these things. We're talking celebrities here, right? I mean, how many celebrities face death threats? How many celebrities face this? So when an accusation comes up, I'm not saying we don't treat it with all the seriousness in the world. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we don't, cancel them before we know what's fact and what's fiction. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing, right or wrong, from when these things happen, these situations happen, or supposedly these accusations were happening, he was still wrestling. You were still about to make him king of your whole brand. All these guys, they were still tag team champs, cruiserweight champs, hopefuls. You were still using them until all of a sudden it hit the news. So all I'm saying is let them keep working. Just let them keep working until, it is decided. Maybe, the court cases are going down, this and that. Let them keep working. Do not just cancel them. Because, as record shows, they've been proven not guilty. That's all I'm saying. There's a history there. And the same thing with most celebrities, right? Let's wait until we have all the facts before we cancel someone just because somebody said something. There's a reason why more and more of these cities and states, and even on the federal level, are about to start making it so that people who make false accusations will face real time, right? If Karen calls on a black guy for just existing, she now goes to jail. And that should be applicable across the board. You accuse someone of rape, you accuse someone of stealing, now you serve the sentence they would have served, is how this should work. The same way we want to hold cops accountable, we need to start holding each other accountable. Because people will be petty as hell. All I'm saying. But before we go to our first commercial break, the greatest piece of news came out last night. Came out yesterday. Everybody thought it was a joke. We even ran a counter campaign for a celebrity of our choice. But after 4 years of Donald Trump, why the hell not? Kanye 2020 is real. My boy Ye literally put out the tweet. He's going for it. He's like, you know what? Kanye for president 2020. And the best part about it, I'm sure, we're only 24 hours into this thing. I'm sure it's a lot of trolling. But if Kanye is really running, all the people complaining about Biden, all the people complaining about Trump, right now are all like, hell, we have two evils. Let's vote for the crazy man, the real crazy man. So everybody's backing Kanye right now. It's kind of funny. I want to see how long this lasts. But if Kanye is seriously running for president, I mean, seriously doing this wasn't just a troll, this wasn't a meme, this wasn't somebody hacked my account, this is him really being serious. More so than me telling you vote for Kanye, I can't do that. Because, frankly, we don't know what the full Kanye platform is other than Save Chicago, right? I just can't wait for these damn debates. Because Kanye can afford to enter them. It's not like when there's someone from the Independents or from the Green Party and they, we don't even know that they're running. No, Kanye will be on a podium standing next to Joe Biden and Donald Trump talking crap about various things we all know he knows nothing about. And I am very excited for this to come down in September and October. Now, on that note, we're going to go to our first commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about the movies. So, Charles, if you could, take us to the next break.
Hello, I'm Charles Obama, and I'm proud to announce that
as mighty armies clash in a struggle for total domination, the scales can be tipped by one man who has the courage to confront his fate and make a choice that will decide the fate of the world.
LDMnetwork.net. And hey, if you are independent,
guys put a lot of smoke in today. Wow. But anyway, you're expecting a real superhero? I don't think so. The real life superheroes are the ones that are helping out in their community today. And the LDM show will be there to bring you the events and stories to life. Do you know a real superhero? Let us know. But for now, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Also visit our websites for photos, videos, and updates. But until the meantime, hey, I gotta be out of here.
All right, and we're back. So I broke this down into 3 different categories of things that you should be watching. So first, we're going to start with HBO Max. And I've been delving into this a bit. There's a lot into the catalog, a lot of different things to be watching. And the few things I was able to finish, I didn't just start, but finish. First off was Euphoria, which is a series about a bunch of misfit teens in a sense. You know, they all have their different quirks and problems and such. The big appeal to watch the show was that it's starring Zendaya, and the first episode's about her being a drug addict and yada yada. This show is pretty interesting. It is very twisted. There aren't a lot of minority characters. I mean, what do you expect? It's a show about teens who can afford drugs. But it's interesting. It's a very interesting show. I got to give the show a 4 out of 5. The reason I can't give it a perfect score is that this is one of those shows that has nudity, right? But not everybody does nude scenes, and it's HBO. I'm sorry, but we even saw James Gandolfini in all of his furry, fat fluffiness screwing people in The Sopranos. You're gonna tell me that the reason I'm watching this show is Zendaya and I don't get to see her naked? Bullcrap. It's not. No. It just doesn't make any goddamn sense. We see just about every other character and like full-on sex scenes and getting naked, and then like the big appeal, the one person. Nope. The face of the show. No. What are you talking about? I mean, even Game of Thrones had homegirl with the dragons naked in the first few seasons, and then she got body doubles for all of the rest of her scenes until the last season. That's how you do it. That's how it's supposed to go. And people were like, "Yo, that's mad superficial." Whatever. But no, it's just standard. It's standard, and I'm not with it. Because the one person you're really interested in seeing get involved in a lot of the nonsense that a bunch of the other characters are getting involved in isn't. She's often the fly on the wall. So you're telling me the big draw to your show is the one character who's hardly in anybody's business but seems to know all of it? That's some bull. And that is why I cannot give this a perfect score. But there is a lot of good, juicy drama, a lot of awkward situations, and it's all from the beginning. The worst part about it is that I feel like people who weren't into drugs would actually start using drugs. I feel like people who are suffering through depression may not find a reason to live. Like this is such a specific show, and like they do a really good job at capturing the feelings that people were going through. I don't know who's writing this show, but they definitely had some problems in life. And the worst thing about it is that people who do relate, this isn't going to be the story that makes you want to save your life. I'm sorry. So I'm just, walking into that. If you're a very sensitive individual, this is not the show for you. I'm not one of those people. I thoroughly enjoyed this. But if you are a sensitive person, it's going to touch a little too close to home. Just fair warning. Another reason I can't give it a perfect score. Like, I'm afraid for Kiki to watch this show. Like, real talk. But on a different note, because that show was so dark, I decided to watch some comedy. And after finishing Insecure, finally, and I know people are like, that ended weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, I really wasn't feeling this season. So, like, the last 4 episodes, I had no energy to try and watch. I completely feel different. It's like the last few episodes were actually better than the rest of the entire season because they felt like what you liked about the old season. It wasn't just focused on her and this stupid concert and yada yada. It was much better. It was a much better conclusion. But because I do watch Insecure, I decided to watch 2 stand-ups that were from actresses on Insecure. One from Yvonne Orji called Momma, I Made It. And I love Yvonne Orji. I've met her on several different occasions. She's really chill, really humble, and 100% real. And have had several conversations with her, and she's just a dope person. So when I saw she was doing, had a stand-up to watch, that was a given. This kind of is the story of her kind of coming into celebrity, and she talks a lot about her family and where she comes from, and it was hilarious. I love the over-the-top impression of her mother, which isn't really over-the-top from how she tells the stories, but it's really good, and you really get a feel like it's kind of like a docu-comedy thing. It's kind of what Joy Coy was going for in his thing, because she actually does, go back to her home country and cut scenes where she's talking to people in the streets. She's introducing you to her family, introducing you to the culture, the actual culture from where she's from, and splicing it with the parts of the comedy bits where it fits in. And I think it was brilliantly done. I would love to watch another one of these. I would love to watch the entire behind the scene thing on this. Like, I was interested in the documentary portion as much as the on stage portion. It was really, really well done. I got to give it a 4 out of 5 because, frankly, there were times where I really just wanted to delve into the docuseries or delve into the stage thing, and it kind of interrupted itself. So, not always perfect, but I think that's the charm to it too, is that you get so caught up in one side or the other that it's good. It's just that it's a little choppy at times for my taste, but all in all, I think anybody can enjoy this too. This isn't just a black thing. This isn't just a woman thing. This was good comedy. On the other hand, Amanda Seales, who hosted NBC Comedy Show and is a side character on Insecure, she had a stand-up special, and from the beginning, she tells you this is a comedy special for the ladies. Then she proceeds to try and explain as to how, this could be, it's comedy, so it can be, for everyone, and then list everybody that it's also not for, which turned out to be anybody who wasn't literally a liberal lady. And when you watch the entire comedy special, this really does feel like this is only targeting for women. If you look at the audience, it's majority women. There are a lot of slightly uncomfortable male faces through the shown throughout the entire routine as well. This was very hit and miss for me. Again, the material not geared for me, but even some of the just general black jokes didn't hit as funny. There are some really bright moments in here. I did find myself laughing, but really what caught me up was how she ended the show. And so I'm going to say this as cleanly as I possibly can, right? So at the end of the show, she's talking about how, older women have to be careful about the men that they sleep with because the male parts can touch the hort, right? Just like that, hort, H-O-R-T. And she continues to, use this throughout the last part of the bit. And at the end, she says, but even though the D can touch the hort, all women must know that the P can snatch the soul. Now, although it does make for a very comedic ending, and it was a large laugh from the crowd, I sat there on the train watching this just going, you're absolutely incorrect. Because it's not the P, it's the mouth. And that is the exact reason why some dudes on the low are homo-thugging. So, just so you know, when we say that something snatches soul, it sucked the soul out of you, right? That's a mouth. Just so for Amanda, you want to change that last part to your bit because that really left me. I was laughing with you during that entire part until you said that because it was wrong. It was just straight up wrong. It's not the P, it's the M. You get that straight. Now, from HBO Max, we move on to Hulu. And Hulu has had a bunch of movies I've been trying to get to, but I always get caught watching series. One of the series being Council of Dads. Absolutely brilliant show. 5 out of 5. Amazing. About a Georgia family coming together after the loss of the father to cancer, and him choosing 3 of his best friends to kind of help the mother keep the family going upon his death. It is an amazing show, very touching. NBC doesn't always make the best shows, but when they decide to do a real family drama, 9 out of 10 times they hit very far home runs on that. Like, that is an out of the park show. I love it. I love that show. And honestly, I loved Parenthood. I loved a bunch of other stuff. This right here, that's a really good show. It's a mixed family, a whole bunch of different storylines going on, and it all comes together very well. The best part about it is that although the pacing and spacing of episodes seem very far apart, that's part of what makes it seem real. So I gotta just, before I even get to anything else, Council of Dads, hands down, a must watch. And they just did the season finale, I think. Just, you gotta watch it. But off that, I wanted to get to some of the movies that were on the list over there. So first, we're gonna start off with Kill Order, which is the story of supernaturally enhanced assassins. It turns out some people are just kind of naturally gifted, and so the government either makes you one of their employees or they kill you. And this one guy who awakens has to, fight for his survival. Very simple story, not that great, but for action value, definitely holds its own value in entertainment. So I gotta give it a 3 out of 5. I'm not gonna tell you to watch it, but you're not gonna waste your time completely watching it. Also, The Art of Self-Defense. It is a very awkward comedy, starring the guy who played Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman. And you'll see a couple other familiar faces. If I'm not mistaken, I think also McLovin was in that. Oh, not McLovin. Napoleon Dynamite. But it's a story of some guy who is really socially awkward, very weak and frail. He learns a little bit about martial arts, and he wants to practice, so he goes to a martial arts school, and it turns into some sort of half evil criminal organization, and it turns him into that 1980s jerk from Karate Kid, and and him coming into being a strong leading male because of martial arts. It's really, but I would say you would have to watch it to truly understand the awkwardness of it. I gotta give it a 3 out of 5 because this isn't for everyone. But if you're someone who can watch Napoleon Dynamite, if you're someone who can watch a Will Ferrell movie, if you're somebody who enjoys movies like Juno and such, you can enjoy this movie. So I give it a 3 out of 5. Now, I delved a little bit into the animation side of it, and there was a movie based off a video game called Mass Effect that I wanted to watch. I gotta give it a 3.5 out of 5. It is a movie where, it's a corny, basic script. It's just that the animation is pretty cool, and the action scenes are incredible. So it's not, the best watch, but if you're looking for something to kill some time, you definitely can enjoy this, like a Halo movie, if you've seen any of those, or even not so much as far as story, but Final Fantasy, like Advent Children. The action scenes are just cool in this. Along the same age, I tried my luck with Dragon Age, because also based off a video game, but this was just really, really boring. There are a couple of cool fight scenes, but it's not as frequent and it's not as amusing. This was just a really waste of my time. I will only give it, because of the animation quality, a 2 out of 5. But it was really boring. It was really bad. Really bad. Just, yeah. The animation really held it down, but that was about it. Another odd movie that they had on Hulu that I absolutely ended up loving was Ghost Team. And Ghost Team is the story of a guy who's trying to cheer up his friend by getting them to compete for the chance to join a ghost busting kind of TV show, like Mythbusters and stuff like that. So there's one holding a competition. They ask their fans to go out and try and find supernatural activity. And if they do, whoever has the best footage will get to join their official TV cast. So, the two leading characters get a rag bag team of locals to go to an abandoned house, or supposedly abandoned house, where weird stuff is happening. And it turns into this really awkward comedy dealing with drug dealers. It's a really off-pace comedy as well, but you'll see a lot of familiar faces, and it actually was really entertaining. It's offbeat comedy, so I don't think it's for everyone, but this is one I will definitely tell you who normally doesn't like the stuff, give it a shot. Those who like the stuff, you'll absolutely love it. And gotta give it a 3.5 out of 5. And last but not least from Hulu was Action Point. The comedy is a pretty recent but pretty old comedy about a guy telling his granddaughter about how he once owned an amusement park. And one of the guys from the show's Jackass is leading the leading character, and a bunch of the awkward scenes that happen when he has this absolutely danger-filled park in Pennsylvania, and kids are getting hurt on the rides, and they're like live animals walking around, and this and it's a really funny movie about literally if an amusement park had absolutely no rules. Normally not my cup of tea, to be honest with you, but I found this thoroughly entertaining. I was laughing a lot. The script was well written, and even the corny moments still made me chuckle. So I got to give it a 4 out of 5. If you've never seen Action Point, if you've seen it, I think you just need to watch it. And if you saw it already, watch it again. It was just a really, really good movie. But of course, when we're talking movies, we got to go to the mainstay, the one thing everybody goes to, and we're gonna hit Netflix. Right, so before we go to our next commercial break, I'm going to run through a bunch of Netflix titles that you should either watch or skip, and we'll talk a little bit about each one. Okay, so first, Netflix dropped something earlier this week called Warrior Nun. Long and short of it is, there is an ancient weapon from heaven given to a special order of the Catholic Church, and they must protect it from demons, right? That's about as simple as I can make it without giving away any details or boring you with facts that make no sense until you know characters. There's some pretty decent fight scenes, actually some very well choreographed fight scenes. I just feel that a lot of the story just kind of doesn't come together until literally the last 2 episodes. So it's kind of hard to care until the last 2 episodes. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Now, did I watch all of it? Yeah. Are there really dope fight scenes? Yeah. Have I seen better demon stuff? Yeah, but I feel like if you like the genre, you can give this a chance. It's not something that's going to draw in new viewers. This is going to be something that occult fans are going to have to, become a fan of. Do I see this getting a season 2 based off of what I saw? Probably, because there are a lot of very attractive women on the show. Literally, as simple as that sounds, I see shows sometimes that have absolutely no business getting a season 2 after a show like Sense8 gets canceled or The Get Down gets canceled. And when you look at the cast, you're like, yeah, they got a social media following, don't they? So this show has a lot of very attractive women. They will have a social media following. There will be a season 2 of this. Watch. I said this today, July 5th. Now, another thing that popped up onto Netflix was a movie called The Darkness. It's the story of a family that goes on a trip, accidentally moves some stuff, and awakens some evil spirits. Not that great of a movie, not that great of a premise, not that great of anything actually happening in it. Some cool sci-fi effects done with the CGI, and for that reason alone, 2 out of 5. But I'm telling you, I was literally going to fall asleep, and then when you finally get the ending of the movie, they literally told you that that's how it was going to end anyway, but a lot of people didn't seem to pay attention to it. It was very anticlimactic. I would give it a 1 out of 5, but I really did like the design of the monsters and some of the CGI. Literally the art of the movie held it together for me. For a 2. That's about it. On the comedy route, Eric Andre did a comedy special called Legalize Everything. Now, anybody who knows the Eric Andre show knows that the comedy is very sporadic, very random, very jarbled. But it works for Adult Swim late night, 30-minute, 15-minute segments. This was an entire comedy show of him acting as if he was high on cocaine. It was not great. It was a really bad show. Like a really overall, there are a couple of hit and miss jokes because again, when you're shooting out, when you're shooting jokes as much as a basketball player takes 3-point shots in the middle of a game, a couple of them are bound to fall and land in, right? So he's the Paul Pierce of comedy, just throwing just jokes after joke after joke after joke. Some of them funny, most of them not. It didn't come together at all until the very ending of the show when he took some boys, like someone from the audience. He took the guy's phone, called his mother, and his mother was so funny it made the comedian look bad. Like, I would watch an entire comedy show of his mother doing exactly what she did at the ending of that comedy routine. It was garbage. Garbage. I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, there are some hit or miss jokes. If you're someone who smokes a lot, who's high a lot, maybe it'll hit funnier for you. But the mom really held that down together. And the reason I'm going to give it the 2.5 out of 5 is literally because I always complain about how bad an ending of a show is. And this one was good because she was the ending. So I'll give him that much credit because at least she ended on that high note. Because high note is a pun, but it's not really. Because she was really, like, smoking weed. But, yeah, so great. Great for Mom. Another thing I wanted to try was this movie that they kept advertising called Time to Kill, which is supposed to be the story about a bunch of Korean gangsters. Somebody just came home, wanted his money. Turns out that the economy doesn't work the same way it did before he went into jail. And they're trying to figure out a way to do one last score and hopefully survive off of that. The premise was pretty cool. There's a lot to the movie that seemed like it would be great. But all in all, it was really boring. It was really slow. A lot of Korean movies have a slower pacing, and I can normally dig it. But there was just way too much talking. Not enough action, and the action sequences weren't even that dope. Like, at least give me some kung fu crazy action Nothing. It was basic pistol shooting, a little bit of fighting. This had a lot of build up for no big bang as far as I'm concerned. And for that, I give it a 2 out of 5. Netflix also came out with season 2 of one of its greatest animated projects in the last few years, Kipo. And this is the only thing here that I'm going to be giving a perfect score to. Because one, as a season 2, a lot of the time shows fall off. It didn't fall off. Everything that was originally charming about it was still there, and it didn't feel repetitive. You learn a lot more about Kipo, her background, her family. Some of it was a little bit surprising too, which I really enjoy because this is targeted towards children. So to have any sort of level of complexity is bonus points. The music was still good. The action scenes are incredible, and the artwork is amazing. This show right here is what all shows need to be like, where every aspect to it is just held to a higher level, a higher standard, and comes together. Like, every episode has to be cohesive and yet come together as an overall, and that's exactly what Kipo does from episode 1 in season 1 to the finale in season 2. Great show. I'm interested in season 3, although I do predict from where they left off that it will not be as good as these last 2 seasons, but I bet you it'll be at least a 4. I put money on it. F is for Family also came out with season 4, and again, this is a season 4. I give it a 4 out of 5. You know, again, some of the things that I originally liked just seem repetitive. Some of the jokes are very repetitive, but they do a good job in building the characters, the storyline, and keeping things moving, where it's not that bad and not that boring. It's really funny. It's about a family just, living life through the 70s into the 80s, and like the main characters dealing with how he grew up, dealing with his father now and his father then, and dealing with raising a family now and trying not to be his dad. It's something that anybody can relate to from any time period, in all honesty. And I think it really holds its own. Dating Around also dropped this season 2 recently. And this is one of those shows where someone will go on a date with a bunch of people. And by the end of it, we'll choose one person to go on another date with and possibly pursue a relationship with. Everything that I liked from season 1 was just copy and pasted into season 2. And for the same reason that Blind Date eventually got kicked off air is how I felt watching this. Also, I wasn't as interested in the daters themselves this time around. They just didn't seem that great to me. Maybe if they had picked more interesting people or less annoying people, I would have enjoyed the season more. But it just, between the people who were going on every one of these dates and the people that they were actually dating, I didn't vibe it as much. And it had nothing to do with the fact that they even moved from New York, because I didn't really even notice that at first. But other than maybe the first and second date, the episodes from 3 to 6 just kind of were a drag to me. So for that, I have to give it a 3 out of 5. I mean, it's not necessarily that the show format itself is wrong, but I would have gone with some more interesting or less annoying people personally. Yeah, there's one lady who was on there, and she seemed like such a snob. I was hoping that no one wanted to date her, but of course she was attractive, so they did. I mean, like, it was just one of those scenarios. Yeah, but we're gonna move on. Killing Gunther is a movie about a bunch of assassins trying to document killing the ultimate assassin. I give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I thought that, the action scenes were pretty cool. The premise was really random. It's just that I know this isn't the movie for a lot of people. Arnold Schwarzenegger is Gunther, and there's a whole bunch of people trying to kill him because in some way, shape, or form, he grimied them. There's some really spotty appearances from celebrities, and there's a lot of like really funny moments between the camera crew and the assassins. But it's not going to be for everyone. This was just absolutely perfect for me, but I got to give it 3.5 out of 5 because I think you should watch it, but I know a lot of you are not going to get past 20 minutes into this movie. You're just not. Another series that dropped is BNA. B as in Barry, N-A. And it's a story of a girl who wakes up as a beast man and is trying to, find Beast Man City so she can feel like she's, welcome, because humans do not like beastmen. I know in your head right now you're like, what the hell is a beastman? Exactly. Now imagine when people think like that and then treat them like, what the hell are you? Then that's why they have their own city to feel free. And this show is really cool. The animation is really cool. I feel like it just takes a while to get started, and some of the big reveals are very obvious if you're an anime watcher. But all in all, I think this is a really enjoyable series. The animation style is pretty unique. Some of the fight scenes are really unique. And the ending of it was a great battle. And you know how I feel about endings. Good ending, good review. So I would recommend watching it. I give it a 4 out of 5. An old movie dropped on Netflix, Red Riding Hood. I got to give it a 3 out of 5. It's a story of a girl who is essentially going to be your little Red Riding Hood, living in a town where people are getting killed by a werewolf, and the big reveal at the end has to deal with why she can understand the wolf. Modern day version of an old tale. There's just nothing really special about it, and the big reveal was kind of like oh, okay. But I mean, it was mildly entertaining. I can't say it was boring. It's just an old film that I don't think did too well in the box office, so Netflix just like, hey, you want to watch it now that you're stuck at home? And I say you should. We also have George Lopez dropping a new stand-up, and I gotta admit, I was really disappointed. Really disappointed.
This is my point.
Right? So, yeah, Charles dropped that. It's called "We'll Do It for Half." I love George Lopez. I love a lot of his stand-up. I love his TV show. It's just that something about this just felt wrong. It was a lot. I don't know if he suffered a stroke and came back. His face was constantly twitching. He tried to work it into the bit. It was very awkward. The jokes were very awkward, and it felt like he was saying stuff that people would just always say instead of it actually being a real comedic stand-up. So, I mean, if you're a George Lopez fan, give it a shot. Tell me what you think. If you're not, don't even watch this because it'll ruin him for you. I'm only going to give it a 3 out of 5 because technically I was finding myself laughing here and there, but I was really bothered by the twitching. Like, I just was left with so much questions, and he really did try to work it in, but it just, I don't know what happened. Somebody needs to explain this to me. Maybe, I don't know. Eurovision also dropped, and this is Will Ferrell's latest version of the same thing as Talladega Nights, where he's a European person with a duet partner trying to get famous on a reality TV singing show. I mean, my friends found it funny. I found it generic. I give it a 3 out of 5 because it does have entertainment value, but it's like every other project Will Ferrell's ever done, and it's not Step Brothers. The Patriots Act also dropped all of the episodes of its past season. Watch it. There was a very special episode 2 about the George Floyd incident that he did a shout out to BLM, and he did the episode really more so for the Asian community. There's also an episode of Insecure that kind of talks about how the Asian community will ostracize itself from other minority groups a lot of the time, but then define themselves as minorities as an anti-white. So he throws an episode in there too about how they should be back in the BLM movement and that sort of thing, and how they should be showing some more support to their black brothers and sisters. That I thought was absolutely amazing, and I gotta give this show a 4.5 out of 5. It's the only reason they're not getting a perfect score is that there is one episode that I kind of was like, do I really care about this particular issue? Is it important? Sure, but do I care about it? Not really. And I feel like you'll know which episode that is if you watch it. But last but not least is a movie called The Ghost Who Walks, which is the story of a man who snitches to get out of prison to finally meet his daughter because he thinks he found a way to get his ex, and take them all to safety. I give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. I think it was a great watch. It was an interesting story. There's a lot more about the character, about his past I want to know, about a lot of other characters in the show I want to know. I don't think it's going to be for everyone because the pacing is very weird, but I think a lot of people who genuinely love movies will love this particular project, even down to the way that it ended abruptly. And again, you know how I feel about endings. I felt like the abrupt ending is only perfect for this because I do want more. I do want a part 2, and I feel like this just lets me know, does he get out of it? Does he not? I need to know. And even if they continue this where now it's the story of his daughter finding out the truth about everything, that would be amazing, because somewhere along the movie they'll mention whether or not Santa gets away. That's right, I said Santa. Yet they released it in July. I don't know why. But that's that. We're going to go to one more quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do our Fans of the Week and a quick review of the upcoming Great American Bash. Charles?
Hello, I'm Charles O'Gorman. I'm proud to announce the new internet television.
Hey everybody, I'm Lil D.
I am Javier Luis.
I'm Alex Polanco.
I'm Apollonia Cruz.
And I'm Shelly Costa.
I am Charlie Phillips.
I am Emmanuel Anzule. Do you know 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence?
During their lifetime?
And domestic violence and abuse can happen to anyone.
Regardless of gender, race.
LDM Radio.
All right. So, our fans of the week this week are Sharon Scott, who was a multi-time winner quite often earlier this year. So shout out to her. Again, Hina. Hina won in back-to-back weeks off of Facebook. So shout out to Hina. Then we have my boy Andrew from Instagram, and he's sporting his whole fashion-y style. He works for a fashion magazine, so he should be, looking stylish. And Nessa on your neck from Instagram as well. So shout out to you four. Thank you for being loyal followers and fans. And last but not least is the picture of the week, which is pretty much a fact about a lot of guys. So why do we feed you? Because we have a sickness for thickness. We like you well fed and thick and plump and fluffy, and yeah. So there you go. Why are you always trying to get me to eat something? So there. Now, before I end today's episode, I wanted to do a little bit of wrestling talk besides the Velveteen Dream thing earlier. But the last few things that NXT has done have been all throwbacks to old WWE series. So in June, there were 2 pay-per-views. One of them was NXT, one of them was main roster. And to be honest with you, main roster one was meh, and NXT was pretty all right. But the only thing of note to really talk about from In Your House is that Io Shirai finally won the NXT Women's Championship. Yeah! But what they've done in the last week is that they started the Great American Bash, right? And this is one of the old pay-per-views. I know, like, a lot of people were definitely big fans of this when Kurt Angle was around because he's the Great American Hero kind of a thing. But it's the first time in the Wednesday, the Wednesday Wars that we see NXT beat AEW in ratings. And what makes it even more special is that these last week and this Wednesday, AEW is actually doing one of their pay-per-views on national television, and they can't beat NXT because the Great American Bash by name just holds more clout than Fyter Feast or whatever that nonsense is, because AEW, you're not there. Sasha Banks is even changing her name to The Draw because she draws all your attention to her, And to be honest with you, the matches that we had, right? We had Tegan Nox win a fatal 4-way to become the women's #1 contender. I can't say I agree with the decision. I would have loved to see Mia Yim. But you know what? The match itself was actually pretty damn good. Pretty damn entertaining. Then you had the Timothy Thatcher versus Orny Lorcan, which, who cares about either one of them? But the match was solid. Rhea Ripley beat Aaliyah and Robbie E. Now, this is a match that I have a problem with because Robbie E. was a tag team champion on Impact Wrestling. You're going to tell me that a women's champion is going to be a tag team champion with a tag team partner? It just doesn't add up. The math don't add up. And whatever happened to Aaliyah's tag team partner? Where's she been at? Is she still injured? I don't know. Put me onto that because I'm interested in finding out. Then you have Dexter Lumis beat Roddy Strong, and I love this because I'm loving Dexter's character, and I'm wondering if they're going to have Dexter Lumis fight anybody for the right to take the titles away from the Undisputed Era. I want him to be the person to do it now that Velveteen can't, because they were going to build a tag team storyline, but it doesn't work out anymore with Velveteen gone. And Io Shirai beat Sasha Banks in the finale, and that match was solid. And Io Shirai is just a great wrestler in general, so that's cool. But now they're coming in for next week, and next week I only see 3 matches scheduled, right? We got Breezango in a triple tag team match against the El Legado de Fantasma. We got Mia Yim versus Candice LeRae in a street fight. Adam Cole versus Keith Lee is the match I can't wait for, where the champion takes all, so there will be an undisputed NXT champion. But I thought we also saw that Swerve might fight Johnny Gargano. And I think that could be a really good match. They're both cruiserweights. They're both very entertaining, wire rated moves. But what would the 5th match be? Candice stand up to AEW. I'm really looking forward to the next Great American Bash Part 2. But I'm just really happy to see that NXT is finding a way to beat AEW. They moved the brand up to prime time to do it. They gave them a lot of hype where they were sweeping all the stuff at Survivor Series and things like it. These kids need to shine. And I really hope that the UK brand comes back soon because the cross-promotional stuff they were doing there was really great. On that note, this has been another episode of Will's Review. I'll catch you guys next time.